Evil Dead Rise directed by Lee Cronin was a fantastic, entertaining, scary, and bloody movie. This movie is something that horror fans will love, but also if you're a big fan of the Evil Dead franchise, you will also love it as well because it respects all the materials of Evil Dead, but also put some new materials and a new focus on how the Deadites also tortured this family who's trapped in this abandoned, rundown apartment. This movie is messed up in a good way with the psychological horror that endures in the family, but also the level of violence that they have to take and give for their survival because their mom is being possessed by a deadite is really insane. And honestly, those kids, they will need therapy after this because the level of trauma, the level of pain, the level of just so much messed up things that happens to these kids, and it's just to the point where you just know that they're not going to be normal at the end of the day. Most of the cast are from Australia's actors, and they did a banger of a job. They did a 10 out of 10 performance, especially Alyssa Sutherland, as her character is the mother who's being possessed by the Deadites, who is literally after her kids and the neighbors and causing these mass murderers. And how her performance was that you can tell that she actually enjoyed the role. And we can honestly see some clips throughout Twitter and the internet where she's actually doing like the voice work when she's actually being like possessed and stuff. And you can just tell like she's actually just enjoying it with the whole project, which is very fantastic because her performances are really great. And it's kind of funny how there was like one scene where she was in the elevator, and then the next scene there was like she's coming out of like the bathtub and she's like literally like on top of like the roof slash wall, and like the position where she was holding it was kind of like very similar from like how she was like a human, and it's kind of like a different version of her being like a deadite. And it was kind of very funny because like if you kind of like stitch these two like scenes together, they're kind of like very similar, which is very awesome. But the rest of the other cast as well, they were very great with their role and very realistic because how can you handle the fact that your mom is being possessed and you don't want to kill her? Like you're just in shock because one minute your mom is fine and then suddenly she's dead, but then all of a sudden she's like back to life, and then now she's being creepy and everything else. So you're just trying to figure out what's going to happen. And honestly, I blame Danny for this because it was all his fault. He should have listened to his sister. His sister had the most common sense and told him to stay away from where the book was from because an earthquake happened and it made like this big hole where Danny actually went and got the book, the Necronomicon. And then she says like, hey, do not read this book, put it back where it was. But he did not listen, and this is what caused all of this mayhem. And the sad part is about this story is that the fact that this family, they're not a dysfunctional family that you kind of want to hate. And normally in horror movies, some families you kind of just really don't care or you hate. This family is just a loving family that you're just like, oh, because the only down part that they actually do have is that their father is not at the home because he actually left them. And so it's just a single mom who's raising three kids on her own, and she's just trying to do her best. And the kids, they're not really jerks at all. They're just loving kids who's just trying to like go by their daily day. But also as well, they get a visit from their aunt, who is also a guitar tech, who also the dynamic and the relationship between the mother and the sister is actually very, very interesting. And I wish they explored more with the family dynamic because, of course, this is Evil Dead. So they want to focus on the gore and the horror and the violence. And honestly, I can just say this that the Evil Dead of 2013 is more violent than this Evil Dead. But this Evil Dead Rise do have some moments where you do cringe because especially with the cheese grater and also to the wine glass, that scene are very, very cringe-worthy, and it's just like, ooh. But also, this thing is a bloodbath. You see a lot of blood. You see just tons and tons of blood, and especially to certain things that's a very like a homage to like classic horror films. And this movie, the camera work, it actually do feels like a Sam Raimi actually did the director, but he didn't. He's actually the executive producer with Bruce Campbell. And but it also just gives you that feeling of the Evil Dead vibe. It's just a new environment. Instead of the woods, it's an apartment building in the city. But we do see a scene where it is in the woods, the classic Evil Dead moments that we always see. But other than that, the lighting, the darkness, the tone of it, it just fits very well. And this is a movie that kind of like stands on its own, and I'm really am happy. And they did a lot of things to make it feels like it's Evil Dead, but just like I said previously, a new environment. But honestly, I give this movie a 9 out of 10. This movie was very, very effective with the horror and the elements, and honestly, to the horror comedy, because they do have some horror comedy that they say some things that's like out of the wall, like you'd be like, what? So yeah, so you guys should check it out. Evil Dead Rise. It's a really good movie, a 9 out of 10. I would recommend it. But other than that, let me know down in the comment section how you guys feel about this movie. Did you guys see it? Did you guys watch it? How many times did you guys watch it? Just let me know down in the comment section. And if you guys do like the video, please give it a like, subscribe, and remember, always be decent. This is the Monotone Man. I hope you guys have a wonderful day and be safe out here. Peace.